June 29th, 1944. The air over Normandy is still thick with the smoke of invasion. Inside a cramped steel box named In the Mood, 24-year-old Staff Sergeant Lafayette Pool listens to his own heartbeat echo off armor plates. He's never fired in anger. None of his crew have. Corporal Wilbert Richards grips the controls. Gunner Willis Aller steadies his sight. Loader Del Boggs wipes his hands on his coveralls. Bowgunner Bert Close, barely 17, stares into the hedgerow ahead. 300 yards away, German infantry are shifting shadows among the thick Norman brush. Pool's radio crackles. "Task Force X, move out," he answers. "Copy that." And the Sherman lurches forward. The first shells arrive before they clear the field. Anti-tank guns hidden behind hedges punch through 3 Shermans in minutes. Every impact is a thunderclap that shakes the earth. One tank erupts, another folds like paper. Inside In the Mood, heat builds, paint, blisters, sweat stings their eyes. Pool spots a German half-track 400 yards. Aller, on the right, the gun fires. A flash, then fire. Their first kill. No cheering, just silence and breathing. Then another half-track. Then an armored car. Each one burns like a signal flare against the hedgerows. But victory lasts seconds. A streak of light Panzerfaust. The explosion slams through the right track. Pool is thrown against the turret wall. His ears ring. Smoke fills the compartment. Richards throws the transmission into reverse, dragging the crippled tank 20 yards backward through mud and flame. "Out! Out!" Pool yells. They crawl through hatches into the open French air. Behind them, In the Mood burns. It's their first tank, their first day, and already they've seen 31 Shermans vanish in 2 days of battle. A regiment of American steel reduced to twisted hulks against a single German battalion. That night, Pool stands in a field, lit by the glow of his destroyed tank. He isn't angry, he's calculating. He knows the numbers now. Panthers kill at 2,000 yards. Shermans die before they even see the muzzle flash. Something has to change. He watches the flames climb higher and makes a quiet promise. If we're going to die in these things, we'll do it on our own terms. Tomorrow, he'll ask his commander for a new tank and for the front position in every single attack. The next morning, June 30th, 1944, the air smells like diesel, cordite, and wet soil. Pool walks into battalion headquarters, still wearing the soot from his burned-out tank. His commander, Colonel Walter Richardson, assumes the young sergeant has come to request a transfer or maybe a break. But Pool doesn't ask for mercy. He asks for another tank. And then, staring straight at his colonel, he says 6 words that sound like insanity. "I want the front, every time." The room goes silent. The colonel leans back. "Front position? You just lost your tank, Sergeant." Pool nods. "Yes, sir, because we fought their way. I want to fight ours." He explains the math, like a mechanic reading a death certificate. A Sherman 75mm gun can't punch through a Panther's front armor at any range. At 2,000 yards, German guns turn Shermans into scrap metal before they can even aim. But up close, inside 300 yards, the numbers flip. The Germans' advantage vanishes. Pool's voice is calm, almost detached. "A Panther kills us at 2,000 yards. We kill him at 300. So, we get in close." Richardson stares at him. "You'll get killed." "Maybe," Pool answers. "But not from 2,000 yards away." The colonel thinks he's out of his mind, but he also knows courage when he sees it. He signs the requisition for a replacement M4A1 Sherman, the newer model, with a 76mm gun. Better velocity, slightly thicker armor. Still, on paper, no match for the Panthers and Tigers waiting ahead. July 1st, Pool meets his crew again beside their new tank, same name, In the Mood. painted in white script on the turret. The men joke it's bad luck to reuse the name. Pool grins. Then we'll make our own luck. They spend the afternoon adjusting the gun sight, checking traverse speed, fine-tuning every moving part. They've seen what happens when the machine fails. Now they're determined to make it faster, deadlier, alive. As the sun sets, Pool gathers his men around the tank. This thing dies at 2,000 yards, he tells them. So, we get closer. Closer than they think possible. We move fast. We hit first. We don't stop. Corporal Richards, his driver, shakes his head. That's suicide. Pool looks at him and says the words that will define his entire legend. Then, let's make suicide work. From that moment, get in close isn't just a tactic, it's a doctrine. Every charge, every kill, every decision will follow it. And by the time the 3rd Armored Division reaches Mortallin in August, German tank crews will whisper about an American madman who drives straight into their guns and somehow survives. August 2nd, 1944. Normandy's fields shimmer in late summer heat. Dust clings to every tread mark. Pool's platoon moves near a small French village called Jouet-du-Plain, a sleepy crossroads turned into a killing ground. Somewhere ahead, 2 German Mark V Panthers are waiting, hull down behind stone walls. The radio crackles. Enemy armor, 800 yards, left ridge. Every tanker in the division knows the next move. Halt, find cover, fire from distance. But Pool's voice cuts through static, sharp, calm, absolute. Richards, full speed, straight ahead, for a heartbeat. Nobody moves. Then the Sherman lurches forward 25 tons of steel, thundering across open ground at 25 miles an hour. German gunners can't believe what they're seeing. One lone Sherman charging 2 Panthers. It looks like madness. To them, it is madness. And that hesitation, those 3 stunned seconds, are all Pool needs. At 600 yards, Allah's voice, target locked. At 400 yards, Pool yells, fire. The 76mm gun recoils with a scream of metal. The first Panther blooms into fire. Its ammunition cooks off, hurling the turret skyward. The second Panther pivots, turret grinding, gun swinging toward them. Allah is already reloading. Boggs shoves another round into the breach. Loaded. Fire again. The shot slams through the second Panther's side, plate penetration, explosion, silence. 40 seconds, 2 kills. The crew doesn't cheer. They just breathe ragged, stunned, alive. Pool lowers his binoculars and studies the smoke. See? Get in close, he mutters. They freeze. We don't. That day, his charge becomes legend. Word spreads across the 3rd Armored like wildfire. Infantrymen start whispering about the mad sergeant in the mood. German prisoners report an American tank that doesn't retreat, it hunts. And the crew? They start to change. Fear turns to instinct. Instinct turns to rhythm. Allah becomes lightning on the trigger. Boggs reloads, blindfolded, just to shave a second. Richards drives like a man racing death itself, faster, lower, smoother. And 17-year-old Bert Close, the bow gunner, stops trembling when he fires. By the time the smoke clears over Jouet-du-Plain, Pool has proven something no manual could teach, that courage, speed, and audacity could rewrite the rules of armored warfare. He didn't just beat the Panthers that day, he broke their playbook. And in the weeks that followed, the German army would learn that lesson the hard way. By mid-August 1944, the 3rd Armored Division is no longer advancing its racing. Every day, the line moves east through shattered French villages and burning fields. At the front, always, is in the mood Pool's 2nd Sherman. The same name, the same madness, but now a crew transformed into a single living weapon. They no longer wait for orders, they hunt. Convoys, half-tracks, and staff cars vanish beneath the flash of their 76-millimeter gun. Pool's platoon becomes the spearhead every infantry unit begs to follow. But their luck is about to be tested by a sky they thought was friendly. August 17th, near the village of Fomented. AP-38 lightning circles overhead silver against a blue afternoon. The pilot radios, enemy armor south of the road, except they aren't German. They're Pool's platoon, clearing out the last pockets of resistance. The lightning dives, machine guns chatter. 50 caliber rounds rake across, in the Mood's engine deck. Then come the rockets. 2 white streaks, 2 impacts. Fire fills the turret. Pool screams for the crew to bail. They spill out into the road as their own airman turns their tank into molten steel. The smell of burning oil mixes with disbelief. Richards punches the ground in fury. Close stares silently, eyes wide, trembling. Boggs just mutters, "Not again." Pool doesn't curse or shout. He watches the flames climb into the Normandy sky and says only, "We'll get another." And they do. Within 24 hours, the battalion assigns him a 3rd tank, another M4A1, another 76-millimeter gun, the same white letters on the turret, "In the Mood." For the men of the 3rd Armored, it becomes a symbol, the tank that refuses to die, the crew that keeps coming back. Pool leads from the front again, charging through the fields of France as if the laws of probability no longer apply. Every German column that spots him opens fire first and dies second. By the end of August, Pool has destroyed 8 confirmed Panzers and more than 100 other vehicles. He no longer has to request the front position, it's assigned to him automatically. When infantry see In the Mood roll by, they cheer. When German tankers hear the name over radio intercepts, they move. Because by now, In the Mood isn't just a tank. It's a ghost with a taste for steel. And soon, at a lonely crossroads near the Belgian border, that ghost will perform its deadliest dance, August 29th, 1944. Dawn breaks cold and grey near a crossroads outside Mons, Belgium. The fog sits heavy on the fields, perfect cover for ambushes, terrible for survival. Pool's Sherman rumbles ahead of the column, as always, far in front of support. Richards drives low through the mist, head half out of the hatch, eyes scanning. Then, movement. 4 silhouettes, black against the fog. Panthers, 4 of them. Pool lowers his binoculars. Enemy armor, 800 yards. No hesitation, no radioing for tank destroyers or artillery. He just points ahead. Richards, full throttle. The crew knows the routine, the Pool charge. The tank surges, forward. Mud sprays, gears howl. German crews inside their Panthers can't believe what they're seeing. A single Sherman racing toward them like a charging bull. For 3 long seconds, they hesitate. Those 3 seconds are death. At 600 yards, Allah has the first target. Target locked. Fire. The 76-millimeter shell tears through fog and steel. First Panther erupts, ammunition cooking off like a fireworks finale. Next one. Pool yells. Richards veers right, closing the gap. 200 yards. The second Panther's turret turns just as Allah fires again. Penetration. Flames spill out the back hatch. German gunners scramble. One Panther fires. Shell ricochets off the ground, sprays dirt across In the Mood's hull. Boggs already has another round chambered. Loaded. 3rd shot hit. Another kill. 4th Panther tries to retreat. Its driver reverses too fast. Throws a track. Allah takes aim. Calm as a machine. Fire. Direct hit. The 4th tank erupts. 6 minutes. 4 German tanks destroyed. Not one hit on In the Mood. Silence falls. The air smells of burning oil, hot metal, and disbelief. Richards finally exhales. 6 minutes, he whispers. Allah grins, sweat running down his face. We're getting good at this. Poole doesn't smile. He studies the wreckage through binoculars and mutters, "They'll stop hesitating next time." But by then, his legend has already outrun him. Across the division, soldiers are talking about the Poole tactic. Officers quote his words in briefings: "Get close, fire first, move faster than fear." Infantry battalions request "in the mood" by name. Even the Germans are whispering now about a mad American who charges Panzers head-on and always wins. For 3 days after the Crossroads battle, Poole keeps pushing. 50 more vehicles destroyed, 3 anti-tank guns silenced, and 27 German soldiers captured after watching their armor burn. He earns the Distinguished Service Cross, though his citation never mentions the real reason for his success, that he rewrote tank warfare with nothing but nerve and numbers. But time is running out. The division is closing on the German border, and Poole's crew has only 4 days left before their scheduled rotation home. 81 days in combat, 3 tanks down, 1 legend still alive. No one knows it yet, but their final battle is already waiting in a place called Münsterbusch, September 19, 1944. Münsterbusch, a small German village near Aachen. For once, Poole isn't leading the charge. Orders from higher command, his platoon provides flank security, while another unit pushes through the Siegfried line. He hates it. The waiting, the passivity, it isn't his way. At 300 yards, Poole spots movement, the glint of a barrel through a farmhouse window, an anti-tank gun. He reacts instantly. High explosive, quick! But this time, something's wrong. His gunner, Corporal Aller, isn't in the turret. He'd been sent home to the States for a medical check before their scheduled rotation. In his place is a young replacement, Private First Class Paul Kenneth King. First combat mission. King slams a 76mm shell into the breach too fast, too hard. The round jams. Poole swears under his breath and reaches down, trying to clear it. But the German gun fires first. The round smashes into In the Mood's turret with a deafening clang. Armor cracks. Sparks shower the crew compartment. Richards throws the Sherman in reverse, backing toward a ditch. Faster! Poole shouts. The second German shell finds its mark right side. Low. It rips through the hull and ignites the ammunition rack. The blast flips the 30-ton Sherman completely over. Steel screams, dust flies, everything goes black. Poole wakes on the ground. The world is silent except for the hiss of fire and the ringing in his ears. He tries to stand and collapses. His right leg is shattered, twisted at an angle no leg should take. Blood pools beneath him. He can see white bone through torn fabric. Inside the overturned tank, smoke pours from the hatches. Richards crawls out, dazed. Close follows, dragging himself through the bow gunner's slot. Boggs climbs free, drenched in blood not his own. King is dead. The first shell had found him instantly. Poole fumbles for his morphine syringe and stabs it into his thigh. The pain doesn't fade, it only dulls. He pulls his knife and tries to saw through what's left of his leg, better to lose it than bleed out. A voice yells, "Stop!" Lieutenant Colonel Richardson appears, grabs the blade, calls for medics. Morphine, then another. Bandages, sulfur powder, hands pressing down hard on pulsing blood. As they lift him onto a stretcher, Poole grips Richardson's arm and whispers the last order of his war. "Take care of my tank." Hours later, surgeons amputate 8 inches above the knee. 81 days of combat. 3 tanks burned, 12 Panzers destroyed, 258 enemy vehicles eliminated, 1,000 enemy soldiers killed or captured. For Lafayette Pool, the war ends not with surrender or glory, but with silence, morphine, and a promise whispered to a machine that will never fight again. El Paso, Texas, 1945. The war is over, but Lafayette Pool's battle is only beginning. He wakes every morning to the weight of a wooden prosthetic, the phantom pain of a leg that isn't there, and the silence of an engine that will never start again. Most men would have stayed home, opened a shop, faded into small-town America. Pool tried. He opened a gas station in Sinton, Texas, fixing Chevrolets instead of Shermans. He married Evelyn. Together they raised 8 children, 4 sons, 4 daughters. He smiled for customers, joked with locals, but anyone who saw him alone at night could tell the war was still inside him. He missed the smell of fuel, the vibration of steel, the purpose. By 1948, he couldn't take it anymore. He re-enlisted. The army assigned him to the Transportation Corps safe desk work, far from any tank. Pool hated it. He'd gone from commanding thunder to counting paperwork. When the army told him he didn't meet the physical standard for armored service, missing limb, he refused to accept it. He wrote directly to General Roderick Allen, the man who had once commanded the 2nd Armored Division. His letter was short and steady. "Sir, I can still teach men to fight." Allen remembered him, the crazy sergeant who charged Panthers head-on. Strings were pulled, rules bent, and just like that, Lafayette Pool came home not to the front, but to Fort Knox. He wasn't a tank commander anymore. He was an instructor in automotive mechanics, teaching young tankers how to keep their Shermans alive in the field. He drilled them hard, demanded precision. When recruits grumbled, older instructors pointed at the man with the wooden leg. "That's Staff Sergeant Pool, 12 Panzers, 258 vehicles, 81 days. You think you've got problems?" Pool never bragged. When cadets asked how he survived, he'd tap his prosthetic and say, "By not standing still." He retired on September 19th, 1960, exactly 16 years after losing his leg at Munster Bush. Rank: Chief Warrant Officer 2, 29 years of service. The Army gave him medals and a pension. He gave them a doctrine that would shape generations. Afterward, he lived quietly. Business school, preacher for $25 a week, Little League coach in Keene, Texas. Kids called him Coach Pool. He told them to always charge forward even when you're scared, because fear, like armor, only works if you move through it. He never called himself a hero. When reporters asked about the Medal of Honor nominations, he'd shake his head. There were no heroes, just crews that refused to quit. And maybe that's why his story endured, because Lafayette Pool didn't just survive the war. He survived what came after it. He proved courage isn't measured in medals or kills. It's measured in how you keep walking, even on one leg. Time has a way of burying even the bravest men. By the 1970s, the name Lafayette Pool barely surfaced outside of veteran reunions and dusty regimental records. His tanks were gone, his comrades scattered, his legend fading into footnotes. But his influence never left the steel. At Fort Knox, armor instructors kept teaching his principle: close the distance, fire first, keep moving. It became the backbone of American tank doctrine, a philosophy that outlived the Sherman and evolved into how Abrams crews still fight today. Aggression over hesitation, precision over protection. Pool had written those lessons in fire and blood. Then, slowly, his ghost returned to life. Historians at the 3rd Armored Division archives rediscovered his combat reports, every kill logged, every date verified. 12 Panzers, 258 vehicles, all in just 81 days. The math was real, the man was real, and the myth, suddenly, not a myth at all. In 1988, Pool visited Fort Hood for an anniversary event. A reporter asked what advice he'd give young soldiers facing a new generation of war. Pool looked at the cameras, adjusted his prosthetic leg, and said 6 words: "Learn to survive. Shoot to kill." Then he paused, smiled faintly, and added, "Never retreat." He died 3 years later, May 30th, 1991, quietly, in his sleep, at home in Keene, Texas. 71 years old. He was buried with full military honors at Fort Sam Houston National Cemetery in San Antonio. His tombstone reads, Chief Warrant Officer, 2 U.S. Army. It doesn't mention 12 Panzers. It doesn't mention 258 kills. It doesn't need to. Every American tanker already knows who he was. 2 years later, the Army built a new simulator facility at Fort Knox, the Lafayette Pool Tank Crew Training Center. A memorial to a man who rewrote the rules with nothing but guts, math, and the will to get closer than anyone thought sane. At the dedication, his old friend Lieutenant Colonel Olan Brewster said it best. He taught an army that courage and speed beat armor and firepower. He showed that a man in a Sherman could outfight a man in a Tiger if he refused to stop. Decades later, Hollywood would borrow his soul. In 2014, the film Fury hit theaters. Brad Pitt played War Daddy, a grizzled Sherman commander who leads from the front, charges into hopeless odds, and refuses to retreat. The movie never said his name, but every historian recognized the truth. War Daddy was Lafayette Pool. His crew even used the same phrase Pool had said in Normandy, the fastest way home is through the German army. The real story didn't need a script. It was already cinematic. 3 tanks burned, 1 leg lost. 81 days that changed how the U.S. fought wars. Today, at the National Armor and Cavalry Museum in Fort Moore, Georgia, you can still find his uniform, medals, and the wooden leg he wore for 45 years. Beside them sits a simple placard, in the mood painted in fading white letters, the same name on 3 different Shermans, the same spirit that refused to die. And somewhere, every time a young tanker trains, hits the throttle, and decides not to stop, Lafayette Pool rides again.